just about to go live on Facebook. And for anybody that is listening that wants to find out, we are actually, we have cross-posted this on the Win Column Sports channel as well, so this should automatically go up on both channels at the same time. So. We are rocking and rolling here, folks. We're going to get started here in about 1 minute, so stand by as the screen says. And we're about ready to start with the Northern Alberta Invitational finale preview show right here on Backbreaker Media and the Win Column Sports Network. I love technology. Just be 1 second, folks. Oh, okay, it's been moved, that's why. For the record, I blame myself for not double checking where all the stuff was. Oh. 1 second, folks. We'll be right up in 1 moment.
Alberta is blessed with a wide variety of high-quality sports. Rich with talented athletes and successful franchises in all levels in any sport. We aim to tell those stories. The Win Column Sports Network was created with one goal in mind, providing professional-level coverage of semi-professional franchises, athletes, and organizations in Edmonton. We believe Edmonton can stand proudly behind our moniker of the City of Champions. This city has been home to multiple AJHL championships, a 2-time WCBL semifinalist, numerous WWE signed independent wrestlers, and many more success stories.
This is Shane, Hurricane Helms.
Hey guys, this is TJ Wilson, aka Tyson Kidd.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is almighty Christopher Daniels.
Stories you can only find on the Win Column Sports Network.
All right, everyone, welcome to the Northern Alberta Invitational Preview Show here on Backbreaker Media and simulcast on the Win Column Sports Network, the WCSN Facebook page. I am Mike Malowany, Mike the Ref, your host for this episode, joined once again by the voices of the Northern Alberta Invitational. First, Anthony from the Wrestlesode podcast.
Hey everybody, Anthony here. Hi, I'm really off today. How are you guys doing?
Sounds like we're doing good so far. And on the phone right now, we have Paul from Wrestling Rodeo.
Hey Mike, thanks for having me back.
And of course, Mr. Jet Setter, High Flyer, Mr. Everywhere right now, the head honcho and president of the Win Column Sports Network, the WCSN, Spencer Love.
Woo. Hey guys, excited to be here. Always fun to be here. Mike, I want to correct you. We're not doing good. Superman does good. We are doing well here on the WCSN, as I hope you guys are as well. Psyched to be here, man. The last show was very, very, very good. Anthony, Paul, haven't had a chance to talk to you guys on the commentary. Loved it. Loved the full show, and I know we're going to get into that in a second here. I know I'm starting to ramble right off the bat. Happy to be here, but the real winner is you, the fans.
Oh, absolutely. Now, before we get into the actual semifinal, well, let's take a look at the draw here for what we had last week here, getting ready for our quarterfinals. And right off the bat, we had Sheik Shabazz taking on the Orion. Giving up some summaries on this match, like this one here, you could see that Orion was on another gear compared to where Sheik Shabazz was, and eventually Sheik went to go for his Arabian press, got countered into a choke slam for the 1-2-3. Spencer, I'll go with you first here. What are your thoughts on how this match went? Like, to me, I was surprised how Orion was able to dominate.
Well, yeah, and I think, to be quite honest with you, it's nothing against the Sheik, but I feel pretty foolish. I think that anybody, if you guys haven't had the opportunity, I did put up a recap of the show on wincolumnsports.ca, and in it I did say that, I was one of the guys here who selected Sheik to win. I think that, and I still think, don't get me wrong, that he's perhaps one of the most underrated talents as far as Albertan pro wrestling goes, but shame on me. I maybe did sleep on the Giant Orion a little bit, and maybe he hadn't performed previously as well as he did on Saturday or whenever the thing was filmed. But credit where credit's due, man. That was quite easily the best match I've seen out of the Giant Orion. And again, nothing against his previous matches. I loved watching him tear it up with Big Jets Youngblood over the last couple of months. But watching him against the Sheik, it seemed like he hit a whole nother level. He pretty soundly defeated a PWA Grand Slam champion, if my memory serves me correctly, the first ever PWA Grand Slam champion. I think that speaks in and of itself. I was surprised, but not shocked by any means to see Giant Orion move on, but psyched to see him do it, man, and good on him.
Anthony, your thoughts?
I mean, I was also quite surprised to see how much of a domination I would almost say it was by Giant Orion, because, as Spencer said, like it's Sheik. The guy is such. Like, the guy's like a hero around here. The guy's been known for such a long time. So you don't quite expect to see him make some of those more rookie mistakes, dealing too much with the crowd, taking too long to make, decisions and moves and stuff like that. And Orion just kind of came in and threw Shabazz around a lot, and it was quite a dominating match.
Man.
He did. Yeah. He laid the smacketh down on Sheik Shabazz. But yeah, like I was saying, that's nothing against Shabazz. That was just everything for Ryan on that match.
And Paul, your thoughts?
It was a dominating performance by Orion. I haven't seen Sheik ever look like that with any opponent before. He just couldn't find any rhythm in that match. He was a little distracted by the crowd, and I think that gave Orion just enough of an opening to be able to kick the door in and really dominate.
Mike, if I can interject on you for a sec before you get your opinion, and something I've loved about this show, and I'm sure for anybody who's tuning into this right after Dynamite tonight, I think all of us are pretty of the opinion that professional wrestling wasn't as good as it could be without the fans in attendance. But watching a show, even like you see with the Northern Alberta Invitational, you watch with Dynamite tonight, and you'll start to see in the near future, like, just how much fans add to a show, right? Like, even just hearing people giving the Sheik shit the whole time was an absolute blast for me to get to watch.
Oh, absolutely. Like, that was one of the unique things here. Just, I don't know exactly who was watching, who was in the crowd or whatnot for this, but they obviously didn't. They had the one camera set up, which still is pretty good based on the angle that they had there. 2/3 of the way through this match, I counted 3 offensive moves for Sheik, and I don't think I've ever seen a match where he's been in that position. I've seen him where he's in a position of the opponents only had 3 offensive maneuvers, but not the other way around here. So an absolutely dominating performance by the Orion here, moving on. And just before we continue, just a reminder, anybody that wants to get in into our conversation here, we do have the chat room available right now, and it will be coming up on Facebook Live. You can see it coming up right on the screen here. If anybody wants to chat, feel free to put your 2 cents in here. So,
Anthony also has an OnlyFans if people are looking to communicate further.
Yeah, but guys, it's in Canadian though. It's like totally great. You don't have to pay the transaction fees across the border. It's fantastic.
There you go. All right, well,
Mike, sorry. Take it back on the rails.
It's fine. That's fine. No. Our second quarterfinal in this draw was Cato taking on the man known as Jack Pride, or the men, sorry. This one here as well. Cato manages to get in his spinning stunner with Jack only falling down for a 2. Tries to set up for it again out of the corner and ends up eating a swallow pride for his efforts. Anthony, I'm going to go to you for this one here. Your thoughts on this match? I know that I think almost everybody here did pick Pride to move on here, but Cato really held his own in this matchup.
You know, it was a really great match. Pride was in the match last week, and he said, don't sleep on Cato, because he's like, we didn't take him lightly, and to be completely fair, Pride did not take him lightly. Cato did an amazing job, especially when you're up against somebody like Jack Pride, somebody who's got such a dominating performance around the Alberta circuit. It was amazing to see. And I also want to just take a second to swallow my pride for calling his finishing move Shattered Pride during the commentary. I was so excited. I got a nice little angry
glad
message.
You brought it up and I didn't.
So I want to take that. I have to say that. I got a nice angry message from Pride, making sure that I'm going to be doing my job correctly in the future. I'm sorry. I of sound mind and not being threatened at all, have made sure that I will say swallowed pride and not shattered pride in the future. I have shattered pride, but that's okay. I'm just going to make sure I say that. But the match was fantastic. Like, it was just a beautiful performance there by Pride. I don't think you could expect anything less out of somebody like Pride. I'm sad that we didn't get to see Jack make an appearance. Of course, everybody knows how much I love to see Jack. But when Pride is alone in the ring, that guy, he is handily one of the best in Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, your thoughts on the match?
I'll touch on something that Anthony just touched on there. Pride is so vicious and so aggressive that I was amazed at how long Cato was able to hang in there. And I think he used all 9 of his lives in this match. But it was a great mid-heavyweight match. These two guys are lightning quick. They're great chain wrestlers. They are 2 of the best in-ring workers and 2 of the best characters in all of Alberta.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Spencer, your thoughts?
First and foremost, man, I got to be a little bit honest here. Like, I think we're underselling just how good this match really was. And I think that my favorite thing about all of this, with the exception of the Sheik and Orion match, which we sort of went over, I think was a bit of a surprise to everybody. This was potentially my favorite match of the night, to be quite honest with you. And I think, a little bit of that may have been the fact that it was the first time I've at least personally seen this matchup. As far as I know, it's the first time that the two have ever gone head-to-head, one-on-one, excuse me. And I think that the two just killed it. You guys are well aware that these two guys are personal favorites of mine. I think a little bit of my bias is showing through, but I think the same can be said about the other 4 men that we're about to talk about. So I think that sort of nullifies my point right then and there. These guys are as good as it gets. And Paul, I think you hit the nail on the head when you talked about them being 2 very good mid-heavyweight wrestlers. And I think that a lot of people may hear that as a bit of a slag, or a bit of, get maybe the late 80s mentality of like, oh, well, they're not Hulk Hogan and they're not 6'5" and Jack. But like, if you watch these 2 guys wrestle, I put my money on them being 2 of the best pound for pound in the province, in Western Canada, in the country for my money. And getting the opportunity to watch these guys, maybe it is again because you know what Blaze and Marky can do, and you know what Metal and Dylan Stone can do. These 2, you sort of go in having no idea what the 2 of them can do together, and they blew me out of the water, even with already heightened expectations. So I don't want to call any of these like my match of the night or anything along those lines, because like I said, it was a really, really nice buffet as far as professional wrestling goes. You got a lot of really great matches with a lot of really great flavors to them. But I love this match, man. I'm going to be happy to go back and watch this again sooner rather than later, and I can almost guarantee that that'll happen before this Saturday night.
Absolutely, and it is available on the Wrestling Rodeo YouTube channel. I just actually took a chance to take a gander of it again just a couple moments before actually coming on this stream here. Want to make sure that we got all our ducks in a row here. So
we're a well-researched posse here at the WCSN, except for Anthony, because he can't call a finisher.
Well, yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Well,
swallow my shattered pride.
No, I got to quit throwing you under the bus. No.
Hey, you know what? Everybody needs the thing. That's totally fine. If everybody wants to associate me to someone like Jack Pride, that's just a win in my books.
Maybe he'll pick up a submission move and call it Shattered Pride.
There you go. Hey, Pride, if you're listening and you have any sympathy for me, which I'm sure you don't, but if you do, we should make a Shattered Pride finisher.
Well, I don't know about you, Anthony, but I think if you don't get Shattered Pride right, you're going to get a Shattered Jaw. So
I think very, very true, yeah.
But let's move on for that before we worry about any more body parts getting injured from you, sir. Our third quarterfinal, and one match that the fans, I do believe, it was one of the two matches that fans were expecting to enjoy the most out of this and most anticipated. We're going Michael Richard Blaze and the original Markey. Now this one here, like, we've seen them numerous times, and once again, these two did not disappoint. In the end, a fall to the outside by Markey off the second rope as he was trying to get his momentum up to set up for that top rope leg drop. He just couldn't recover enough, and MRB took control, took him up to the second rope, launched him into a superplex, into a brain buster. 1, 2, 3. You got Blaze with the victory here. Paul, your thoughts on the matchup?
We've seen these guys for years, and every single time they wrestle each other, something special happens. And even in this environment where it's a pre-taped match that we've put into a tournament format, we saw that, I don't know what to call it, the attitude adjustment move almost to the ring apron.
Yeah.
That was sickening to see. Yeah. The thud was crazy when we were doing the commentary. I couldn't believe that both those guys got up and Markey was able to beat that 10 count back into the ring. These two together, cream of the crop. Separate, they are the top two of the top wrestlers in Alberta, because the guys in the fourth quarterfinal are also really, really good, and they're up there as well.
Well, you definitely know why that move is called a Death Valley Driver. There's instant death involved here, and that definitely showed it right on that ring apron. Spencer, your thoughts?
I think the thing that I liked most about this match is you hear a lot of professional wrestlers, whether they're in the proverbial big leagues, whether they're just starting their careers out, whatever, talking about wrestling in front of nobody and giving it their all. And, like, so often shit like that sounds like such a hyperbole or such a selling point, you know what I mean? In professional wrestling, you're so used to overselling everything, but, like, quite literally, they were wrestling in front of, I would have to assume, not much more than the other professional wrestlers that were involved in the show. And to watch them go out and not just wrestle a hell of a match, but wrestle a hell of a painful match. Like, that's not a mat classic. Like, for lack of a better way to put it, they're not in there like a Dean Malenko keeping to the middle of the mat. Like you guys say, they're going out and they're throwing Death Valley drivers off to the outside on the ring apron. They're batshit insane, for lack of a better way to put it. And to see that happening, whether you've seen it happen in front of 1,000 fans at the Nate Gymnasium or quite literally in front of friends and family, these two are two of the best. I can't oversell on that point any more than you guys already have, but it's a well-deserved accolade on both their parts. Love this match. I got a lot more points to make on it, but thankfully we get to speak about one more guy a little bit more when we talk about the semifinals.
Absolutely. And we can admit MRB is batshit crazy. You talked to him last week, right?
Oh, I've said that for years. I've said that before I interviewed the guy, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible, but you see the shit that the guy does and the heart that he puts into it, and the same goes for Markey. That's not to say anything against him or take anything away from what he's done as well, but, like, you know, I was lucky enough to talk to MRB just last week and to hear his sort of thought process going into a match that had already been filmed. He knew what was going to happen, and to hear what he talks about him going out and doing, and then watching it a couple of days later, like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane in the most complimentary possible fashion.
And absolutely, and that was my way of getting a cheap plug-in for you, Spencer. Make sure you check out the podcast as well as all our video feeds for our last CWL Live with Michael Richard Blaze. So
you would have made a hell of an electrician, Michael, with all those cheap plugs you install.
I'm trying. You know, the SAS boys are in the chat room here starting to go at it here, so I got to let them know what's going on here, keep them up to speed.
Oh, also go and listen to my interviews with them. They're the shit. They're great. They're all great.
This is the SAS.
Saskatchewan's awesome.
This is the SAS boys fans version. right now.
This is
rad. I know Mike
this is more like the Mike
I'm just happy to
McSugar
see it.
Wiener Eaters fan club is joining, essentially.
Mike D is the man. Whether you're talking about the Beastie Boys or Saskatchewan wrestling fans, Mike D is the greatest.
I agree.
Well, and there we go.
Let's get this back on track here, guys. Anthony, your thoughts on the match?
Oh, it was one hell of a match, as everybody was saying. It was one of the most anticipated matches of the night. 62% of people thought that was going to be the match of the night, and it really delivered, in my opinion, as the main event. I thought the match just it killed MRB. Markey, absolutely insane. I can't say the same things that everybody else has said already, but I gotta go touch back to what Paul mentioned earlier. That freaking Death Valley driver to the apron on the outside. I remember texting Paul days later. I was like, "Did you remember that bump?" He knew exactly what I was talking about. Like that's how impactful that bump was. The fact that Markey was able to get up from that blows my mind. Heck, the fact that MRB got up from it blows my mind. They put on a hell of a quarterfinals. By the way, quarterfinal match? That's like literally a main event in any other tournament. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, but if we can get real here, I was just gonna jump in and make the same point. Like, you could really say it about anything, man. It's not really a main event situation. It's Baskin Robbins. You're not really gonna find a bad flavor.
It's very true. This tournament is full of amazing flavors that just gel very well, let me tell you.
Thank you, Anthony.
Without a doubt. Well, let's get on to our last quarterfinal here, because we got some previews to go through here. Our last quarterfinal. Heavy metal, Dylan Stone. Oh my goodness. To me, it was a bit of an upset here. In a sense, with Dylan Stone managing to pull out that Saturday night special out of nowhere, getting the 1-2-3 and the victory here. Spencer, you're shaking your head at me here at this one.
No, I loved it. I really, really loved this match again, and I feel like I can say that about the matches that occurred. I feel like I'm going to say it when we eventually review the semifinals and Sager versus Taryn and the final matchup when it eventually happens. But this was terrific, and I think right off the bat, it was starting to look a lot like the Sheik Shabazz Giant Orion match that preceded it. When you go up against a guy like Heavy Metal, like, we talk about MRB. I don't think enough people, despite how often he is brought up, I don't think enough people talk about Heavy Metal being one of the best damn wrestlers in Canada. And he went out and he proved it right off the bat on Saturday night, you know? I think, Mike, you made a very, very good point as far as it goes, is it's nothing against Dylan Stone, but that Saturday night special, was really out of nowhere. It didn't look like Dylan Stone had as much momentum as someone would typically need to win, for lack of a more eloquent way to put it, you know? But I think it was a terrific matchup. I'm really happy to see Dylan Stone win, mostly for the fact that, you know, it's always nice when somebody makes a Pokemon reference and it turns out to be correct. I'll take it every time. You know, sometimes we like to chat a lot here about how we're not analysts, we're fans first, and I think that is one of the major reasons I am a fan of Dylan Stone, is because he is just damn enjoyable.
Well, you're saying Stone didn't have the momentum. He just took a superplex, and Metal was just trying to roll through into a Falcon Arrow, and Stone manages to win
underselling, Mike.
I don't undersell. Like,
hey,
wow,
I got to make you guys sound good. Let's all just, you know, I didn't want to be the guy to bring it up. I was hoping one of you guys had put me over, but I was the only one last week who did pick Dylan Stone to win, making me the champion of everything forever for the rest of history ever.
We'll see what Coach Parrish has to say about that on Sunday, but I digress. Anthony, your thoughts on this match?
Oh, man. Like, here's the weird thing. When the match was said and done, and I was, like, kind of blown away that Dylan Stone had won. And that's, like, such a weird thing to be thinking about, considering that it's Dylan Stone. This man is such a hero around Alberta. That just shows how good Heavy Metal really is. But it's like saying, like, two A-plus wrestlers, maybe even S-class, as you would call it in racing games. I'm not great at those. But these S-class wrestlers around Alberta is putting on these amazing matches. It was insane. That superplex off the top rope near the end, absolutely beautiful. It was amazing to see Dylan Stone roll out, get that Saturday night special, and pick up that win. You could see how excited he was. You saw him just like smashing the mat, doing, you know, a couple of the, you guys know what happened. It was amazing.
It's a PG show, Anthony. You can't say what he was doing.
I was just doing these things. It was so good. He was with the flow. But no, Dylan Stone, what a performance! What an amazing showing to be able to put down somebody like Heavy Metal in a quarterfinal match. That's so like it made me look at my all my estimates and go, wow, okay, I got to rethink of my estimates at this point. Like, now who's going to win? Because like I was thrown for a loop. I really was.
Anthony, we're not tracking the numbers until later here.
Not yet. I'm just giving people some of that little juicy excitement, you know.
Well, Paul, I'll bring this on to you here.
The way that was put, Anthony. Jesus, we're a PG show.
Yeah, nah, you know how I work.
Remember, this is a backbreaker show. We can blur the lines a little bit more here. It's all good.
We blur the lines as much as Mike blurs his background.
Exactly.
Was that a burn?
No, because I was doing it too, but it's too dark, so it doesn't notice.
Paul, was that a burn?
Fair enough.
It's not really a burn when Anthony's doing it too.
Paul.
Okay, we're not declared a non-burn. Thanks very much.
All right, let's get this back on track here. Paul, I want to ask you this. We were watching the video, and as the superplex was just completed, there was this big, you could see it, let's face it, it's the Omen symbol. Just flashes up on the screen out of nowhere. And what's going on with the Omen? Like, if you watch the beginning of the show, the Omen's like, he's going to challenge the winner of this or something to that effect? Paul, can you make some sense of that?
The Omen's very mysterious. We don't know quite what is going on there. When Anthony and I uploaded that video to YouTube for the premiere, that glitch wasn't there. So the Omen somehow altered the video feed and put those glitches in.
To be fair, though, he did a much better job of introducing the characters than we did, so...
He did.
I was going to say it's very convenient that he chose to say that exact message at the introductory portion of the video.
He's very good at what he does.
He's very, very good.
I will say that... Sorry, go ahead, Ed.
If there's one thing outside of professional wrestling that I thought the Omen was good at, it's brand awareness.
Well, he does.
Yeah, he really got his brand around that video, for sure.
He does.
We all saw that on Saturday night.
He does have a top-rated internet Instagram show going on right now, so...
Oh, dude, just to be quite honest here, like, it's fantastic. I love seeing people talk to professional wrestlers. I love seeing people do shit they're passionate about. If you guys have the opportunity, check out the Omen's interviews on Instagram Live, I believe, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And I know that he's interviewing Tex Kane next Wednesday. I don't know who his other guests he's got lined up are.
Zoe Sager.
He's got Big Bad Boris coming up this Friday.
Triple B.
He's got Zoe Sager, the former PWA Women's Champion, on Monday. And then, once again, part 2 with Tex. Hopefully we can buy him a cell phone instead of using a rotary phone to try doing Instagram Live. So.
That's why it happened is burner ran out.
I guess so. But anyway, let's wrap.
Happens to the best of us, man.
Let's bring it back up to the show here. So we've concluded our first round matchups, and here's what we got for the semifinals. We got Orion taking on Pride, and Dylan Stone taking on Michael Richard Blaze. This is a complete pick'em here right now, and we got to go one. We're gonna have to break these down one apiece here. Let's start off. Yeah, we just said yeah. Never mind. Right off the.
I'm so sorry. This is what happens when you don't see other people in the flesh for like 50 days.
Yeah, the last time we were all together was this time last week. We need to get all our giggles out.
Yeah, pretty much.
A little too much sugar in that time.
Well, I'm drinking a Red Bull right now, so things could get interesting. Coming up right off the... Oh, a little bit of the bubbly. And,
yeah, a little bit of the bubbly going on.
All right. Our first matchup here in the semifinals. There we go. It is Jack Pride taking on the Orion. Now, we talked about it earlier. The Orion had an absolutely dominating performance against Sheik Shabazz, and Jack Pride pulled out the victory with the Swallow Pride on Kato. Anthony, what are your thoughts about this matchup here? Because this is the proverbial David versus Goliath matchup if we've ever seen one.
Man, I'm just going to say this. If there is anybody to fill this David role better, I couldn't find them. If anybody is going to learn how to slay the beast, if someone like Sheik Shabazz couldn't figure it out, I think it's going to be Pride. I think that's just like a personal thing. You know, Pride, like I said, the man is an incredible tactician. The guy is so smart. He always uses everything to his advantage. And if you're up against somebody like a Giant Orion who can just like with just literally one chop take you down and keep you there, you have to be smart. You got to be fast. Pride is one of the smartest people in the ring, and he's definitely got the speed that he needs. I hate to say it, but like oh man, he's too good. Pride's just too good. I don't know how Giant Orion could beat someone like a Pride going into a semifinals, even after what he did to Sheik Shabazz. That's me.
Yeah.
Spencer, your thoughts?
I got a lot of them, to be quite honest with you. Like, I would have had a lot easier time making this pick if it wasn't for the results of last week. And Anthony, I think a lot of what I would have said would have echoed what you just did in that Pride's too good. Like, for lack of a better way to put it, you don't bet against Babe Ruth to hit a home run, right? Like, he is a very good professional wrestler, to undersell it in the largest way possible. But watching what Giant Orion did last week to another incredible pro wrestler, again, like, I don't think that it should be undersold the importance of being one of, if not the first ever PWA Grand Slam champion is. Like, you see, excuse me as I stumble over my words, there's some of the people that have gone through that promotion, right? Like Davey Boy Smith Jr., TJ Wilson, Michael Richard Blaze, Michael Allen Richard Clark, Duke Durango, Chris Steele, the names go on and on and on. And Sheik Shabazz is the first one to win every championship in that promotion. I think that speaks mountains about the ability that guy has. And maybe it's just an off day. Maybe it's a really good day for Giant Orion, but I'm going to have a hard time picking against Giant Orion at this point. But again, I'd really be contradicting myself if I didn't stick with Pride. I think that if I'm going to bet on Babe Ruth, I'm going to bet on Babe Ruth the whole way. You keep going with Secretariat, and Pride's got my money.
Paul,
great reference there.
Thank you.
Paul, your thoughts on this matchup?
So in terms of a prediction, I reached out to my co-host, Mitch. He said Pride is his prediction. So I'm going to talk like I'm Mitch here. Pride is going to have to bring the Giant down somehow. He's going to have to utilize his speed. He's going to have to chop away at the legs of Orion, and just really take away Orion's mobility in this match. And I can't think of anyone better to do it than Pride.
Mm-hmm.
Well, myself personally, the breakdown of this matchup here.
Break it down.
When it comes to Jack Pride, he has so many different ways to take you down in an offense here. He's handled big guys. He's handled small guys. A lot of people haven't seen his arsenal since he's been in the CWC. He hasn't used a lot of his moves when it comes to being an RCW or PWA because he hasn't had to. People forget that he does have that smirking revenge elbow that has taken out anybody that has received it. That elbow off the top rope, absolutely deadly. If he can get the Orion down by hook or by crook and hit that, he's got a shot at winning this. And I think in the way Pride has been on a roll here ever since, August 2018, which, by the way, you're going to be able to see that match here in about 2 weeks' time here on our YouTube channel. Yes, one more plug.
Yeah, you see me shaking my head, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody's showing their plugs. Good enough. But it seems that Pride has just come up with an answer for everything. And I got a feeling that Pride's going to go over in this matchup here. The Orion I think it's going to come down to an experience thing, and Pride's going to take him into the deep water that Sheik wasn't able to do last match.
All right, just to keep it interesting, I'll change my pick to Orion. I think that it's a pick 'em as is, and again, just want to keep it so that we're not all picking the same guy. That's no fun.
Well,
Pride, I love you. I'm just trying to be different.
You're just trying to keep the title, even though the title's not on the line here.
No, 100%. This is a
It's a Pride title.
Word restricted by WWE matchup.
Fair enough. All right, well, let's move on to our second semifinal here, and that is Dylan Stone taking on Michael Richard Blaze. Now, this is a rematch from Force Pro Wrestling's The Prelude, in which Dylan Stone literally walked away after 15 minutes of going toe-to-toe with arguably one of the best in Canada here. So
now, Mike, sorry to interject here. It's very rare I get to fact check you, so I'm going to take the opportunity to do so. Was he not carried out by Andre?
I'm sure he could have walked out on his own power.
I'm sorry, man.
Anyway.
We had rails.
They're going.
We're off of them.
Paul.
We're not there.
Oh,
monorail.
Before I get to you, Paul.
Mono. No.
Paul, before I get to you and your thoughts on what this matchup's going to be like, Doyle is commenting in the chat room, why can't we have this kind of stuff in Saskatchewan? It's because Alberta's better. Let's just face it there.
No, and you know what? I will say that Saskatchewan has been privy to a lot of matches that I would have been very excited to see. I was not privy to the entirety of the Mike McSugar, Michael Allen, Richard Clark feud. Didn't get to watch that, something that I would anticipate. So it's a lot like looking at AEW versus the WWE sort of thing in the way that I look at it is you're always going to miss out on something that is appealing to you. So keep your fingers crossed that you see it, or just get out to more shit. Doyle, that's not a shot. That's just I want to see you more stuff.
Fair enough. All right, Paul. We got two of the best here in Alberta going head-to-head. Your thoughts on this matchup, and what do you expect going out of this matchup here?
I don't know. I watched that Force Pro match when you had broadcast it, and I couldn't believe what those two were doing. That was such an amazing match for 15 minutes, and I was dying to see the conclusion of it, and I can't believe that we get to see the conclusion of it here. These two are, everyone on this call has said, two of the best in Alberta, probably two of the best in Western Canada, and Mitch, he chose Dylan Stone to take out the win here.
Mitch is a smart guy.
We'll give it to Mitch.
He's wise.
Spencer, your thoughts?
I'm excited for this one, man, for a lot of the reasons that you previously mentioned, Paul. You know, it's going to be nice to finally get the epic conclusion, for lack of a better way to put it, to a match that I was really enjoying when it sort of got the rug pulled out from under it. But I think a couple things that I'm most interested for, even more than that, is to see this match with the roles reversed. If last week is anything of an indication, you know, seeing Dylan Stone in Force Pro Wrestling, where he's playing the asshole, he's got the Gold Cartel to back him up. With Michael Richard Blaze playing the hero that he's so good at doing, this was quite a different set of roles for these guys last week, in that Dylan Stone was going up against heavy metal. He was sort of back to the lovable Dylan Stone that we all know and love for, you know, repeating the same word 55 times. And MRB was playing a role that we hadn't really seen in probably 2 years as far as the PWA and Alberta Wrestling's concerned. You know, the last time that I really remember him playing the Rudo was a couple of months before he got his hair cut off by Colton Kelly. And Mike, you may need to fact check me on that one, but if I remember correctly, that was a couple of months after last year's anniversary show. So at least a year, if not more than that. And again, a role that he does so well. So to see these two with the roles reversed in a match that'll finally get the conclusion, very, very excited for. Now, as far as I'm concerned, and if anybody that hasn't watched the interview or read the article on windcolumnsports.ca, then I do apologize. Here's your spoiler warning. Going to take a quick 3 seconds. Michael Richard Blaze, of course, revealing that he had hurt his pectoral muscle a number of years ago as part of our interview, and he's going to be getting surgery in the next little bit. So I don't like pulling the curtain back. Let's talk about wins and losses, but to see what he was able to do last week, knowing what we know now, and to see the effort that he was still able to put in a victory, nonetheless, against one of the top wrestlers in the province, I don't see any reason that he wouldn't be able to do so again. Going up against Dylan Stone is a very different animal than going up against Markey. I think that Dylan Stone's got a little more power behind him. He's got a little more of a ground game behind him, whereas Markey is a little more I don't like the word flashy because it does sound a little like you're taking it down a bit, but he does have more of the aerial offense to him. He does have a bit more of the versatility on that end. So it's going to be nice to watch the transition in MRB. It's going to be cool to see. And I don't like, again, the word cool, but interesting is maybe a better way to put it. To see how he continues to adapt to that injury that has finally gotten to the point that he needs to do something about it. And it'll be interesting to see how Dylan Stone capitalizes on MRB. I'm very excited. Again, you don't bet against the Maserati, you don't spit into the wind, and you don't pick against Michael Richard Blaze.
Well, in terms of your fact-checking, I'll just bring it up to speed for most people.
Thank you very much.
It was at the point where MRB was a heel with Brandon Van Danielson, but the fans just refused to, for lack of a better term, they refused to hate on MRB. They kept cheering him, so eventually, the longer you get cheered, the more people are going to like you, and then when you have somebody who's even more despicable take care of somebody despicable, somebody's going to turn into the good guy out of it. So that's what happened with Michael Richard Blaze there, along with Brandon Van Danielson. And Mike Doucette nailed it on the head. MRB versus the world. He doesn't care if it's a good guy, bad guy, other guy, or girl in some cases. Anthony, your thoughts on this matchup here?
Man, this is going to be such a good match. Now, we've talked about the accolades of Michael Richard Blaze through and through. I mean, that guy's accolades, they go endlessly. But Dylan Stone is such an incredible talent. He went into the quarterfinals as an underdog, and we kind of said that is not against Dylan Stone. The guy is an S-class wrestler. But to take out someone like a Heavy Metal made me stop and think after I watched that match. And I'm like, he's good, man. He's good. He's so good that he started off getting hit as the bell was ringing. He was able to fight back in the match. He was able to fight back from a superplex. He was able to hit the Saturday Night Special, and he was able to remove Heavy Metal from the tournament. And I had to think about that after I watched that match, and I was like, I honestly was kind of expecting MRB to take the first bottom half of the bracket, but Dylan Stone, man, that was one hell of an incredible performance. And if he can take out somebody like a Heavy Metal, I can't see him not being able to take out somebody like a Michael Richard Blaze as well. I think that Saturday Night Special is deadly. I think we're going to be seeing a Saturday Night Special closing this match as opposed to a brainbuster in my side. That's my opinion.
I like it, man, and you're completely correct as far as it goes. And that Dylan Stone, he may perhaps have had the hardest bracket to have to potentially go through, whether you're talking about Heavy Metal, Markey, or Michael Richard Blaze. The way I guess I'd sort of equate it is I don't know how many of you guys or how hardcore hockey fans you guys are, but it'd be like, for me, say, a Sweden drawing in with Russia, the United States, and Canada in the Olympic hockey pool, right? It's you're never going to take anything away you're never going to take anything away from Sweden, excuse me, to clarify there. But you're going up against literally the best of the best. There was no way around it as far as it goes with Dylan Stone. Whereas, like you mentioned, Anthony, maybe you could look at the A bracket there and say, okay, the Giant Orion doesn't have the experience that a lot of individuals in this have. Maybe, X, Y, or Z. I don't think you had those sorts of questions in the B block, making it all the more impressive that not only did Dylan Stone defeat Heavy Metal, but I think has a really, really solid opportunity. You say pick'ems, Mike. This is as much of a pick'em as it gets.
Absolutely. And when it comes to this matchup here, personally, I'm going to go back to a post that you actually put out on Facebook today. Yes, I'm putting you over again, sir. 1 year
I'm
ago,
like Coda, I never lose.
Don't ever bring that name up in one of my shows ever again.
Our shows, you were outvoted. Anthony, Paul, back me up.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a community of lovely individuals.
Like that show, Community.
All
yes.
right.
I'm Abed.
1 year.
Call Troy.
1 year ago this week, Dylan Stone went 20 minutes with the then Ring of Honor World Champion Matt Taven.
110%, man. And a hell of a match. I remember that one.
I remember calling that match, and yes, I do have to get the video edited up for you guys. Those guys absolutely stole the show there, and I think they're going to steal the show here. With all due respect to Orion and Jack Pride, this match here is going to absolutely blow the roof off wherever they're holding this. So, in the end, I think Dylan Stone might actually have just a little bit more, for lack of a better term, MRB has the desire to be the best. Dylan Stone has the desire to be better than MRB. In my thoughts, wanting to be better than the best of the best is going to trump the guy who just wants to be the best.
Yeah, man, but you know what? And I think you and I have sat and had this argument before, and we'll sit and have it again, and I don't want to take up all of the time we've got here, but, you know, I know that everybody at every point in wrestling has something to prove and yada, yada, friggin' yada, but like we were talking about with MRB last Thursday, Mike, like, this is his last opportunity to get in a professional wrestling ring for, at the very least, 10 months. And it had been 16 years before he'd even spent a month out of the ring prior to this. So I think that MRB, at the worst of times, is potentially the best wrestler in Canada. Now, Michael Richard Blaze with something to prove. Like, I don't envy anybody who's got to go up against that. And the fact that I love watching Dylan Stone professionally wrestle, I consider him to be one of the best is, like, there aren't many people, to be quite honest with you, that I would give much of a fighting chance as far as this one goes. And Dylan Stone, even the fact that I think that this could be a pick'em, I think that's a huge credit to him. But MRB, as far as it goes, when he's got nothing to lose, man, you're not going to find a better pro wrestler. And I don't need to qualify which country. I just will say you won't find a better pro wrestler.
Fair enough. And you know what? We could agree to disagree. We can argue points, whatnot. Just make sure you check out the video coming out this Saturday, 4 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Eastern, on the Wrestling Rodeo YouTube channel. Just answering Doyle's question in the chat room there. Yes, this is a
that was me.
Show.
After I put him over.
And I'm also a handsome clown.
I am most handsome, and that is literally at the top of the chat.
Well, you know what? We'll
quite literally.
We'll discuss our picks for the final. You know what? Let's do it right now, and then we'll get to our last match we're going to talk about here. Who you got in the final and who you got winning? Paul, let's go with you first here.
So Mitch had Pride and Stone, and he had Pride winning. I don't know if he's seen the CWC classics that those two had, but if that's the final, zero complaints.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. It's going to be a game of can you top this?
Exactly. It'd be two of the best from Central Alberta, really proving that they belong in that elite echelon of Canadian wrestlers.
So, Anthony, what are your thoughts and predictions here going into this final here?
So I have a statement that I've written up that was definitely not prepared by Pride. I, Anthony, of sound mind and definitely not being threatened, have decided to lock my pick in with Pride. I must swallow my pride from earlier on in the week, and I must shatter my future dreams. But Pride, however, will retain all the gold and will continue to reign as the champion over this tournament over Dylan Stone.
Okay, for Anthony's true pick,
yes.
Check him out on Twitter later on, okay? At Wrestlesode. So, Spencer, your pick.
That's me. Well, if I'm going to stick true to my word here, I am going to be predicting a Giant Orion Michael Richard Blaze final. Interesting, man. I'm psyched. I think that there are sometimes when you look in professional wrestling matches that you didn't expect to be as excited about when you hear them. And this is even the first time that I am saying out loud, Michael Richard Blaze versus the Giant Orion. But hell, that's going to be a great match if I end up being correct as far as that prediction goes. I think that getting the opportunity to go against MRB has been a measuring stick for a lot of fairly new professional wrestlers, whether you look at a guy like Nasty Nate Nixon, whether you look at Pride himself back in Radway a few years ago. I think that, you know, he is the measuring stick, and to get the opportunity to go against him, as I am predicting the Giant Orion to do, I think is going to be a huge opportunity for him to prove himself. Not that he hasn't already, you know, prospectively going over Pride and already having gone over on Sheik Shabazz, but I think when you go up against Michael Richard Blaze, if you look good, that's a compliment to you, and if you win, that is a huge launching point for yourself in Albertan professional wrestling and professional wrestling as a whole. It's the best way to put it is Ric Flair, man. To be the man, you got to beat the man, and if Giant Orion is to do that to Michael Richard Blaze, that's huge. Now, saying that, the best explanations are short explanations, guys. Michael Richard Blaze has something to prove, and for that reason, I see God's gift to wrestling leaving with the trophy, belt, commemorative statue, handshake, medal, box of cookies, ribbon, pin, or certificate, whatever is handed out at the end of the day.
I heard it was a handshake and a hot dog they're going for in this tournament.
Well, then I at least got half of it covered off.
Well, let's look at all 4 potential finals here. If you got Orion, Dylan, Stone, two guys that are about ready to explode into the top echelon in publicity in Alberta wrestling. We know that they're 2 great talents, but they haven't necessarily gotten the full exposure that they deserve. Not for mentioning Dylan Stone's videos on YouTube. We don't want any of that kind of exposure.
Gonna say, if there's anybody who has been fully exposed in Albertan professional wrestling, I would hazard a guess that it is the gentleman who participated in a dildo on a pole match.
We also
and
have
a big
Mike
shout out to Mick Sugar.
Chance, yeah.
Hey,
we need at least 2 hot dogs because Mick Sugar's in chat, just for the record, guys. It's got to be at least 2.
Fair enough. But then also you got Orion MRB. Spencer, you summed it up perfectly there. A man with something to prove versus a man with something to prove on both ends there. But then we look at the other 2 potentials here. We got Jack Pride, Dylan Stone. I've called enough of those matches to know that they're an instant classic no matter what those 2 do in the ring. Mm-hmm. But then I would find it a little bit ironic that if MRB's last match would be against Pride, as January 11th, 2018, we started the Alberta Indie Dream Match series with these 2. And we could finally put a lot of that. Well, MRB was the basis of that whole thing here. Everybody wanted to challenge MRB for who was legitimately the top of the province. Sorry, go ahead, Spencer.
I would like to give full-on credit to Jonah Condro for the Alberta Indie Dream Match hashtag and the only way that you can call a match of any importance, anything nowadays. Alberta Indie Dream Match hashtag.
Fair enough. But wouldn't it be fitting...
Hashtag Alberta Indie Dream Match.
Wouldn't it be fitting that MRB's last match would be setting up the finish to this whole series of hashtag Alberta Indie Dream Match?
Alberta Indie Dream Matches.
So, I can see you inch closer to the mic. It was like, it's going to pounce. He's going to pounce.
Yep, he's going to pounce.
Been watching a lot of Tiger King again lately.
All right,
Carol Baskin.
We've gone through...
Did it?
We've gone through the men's tournament, but there is one more match that we want to talk about, and it's the co-main event that, honestly, guys, I am really looking forward to it. I think all of you are as well. We got Zoe Sager taking on Taryn from Accounting. Now, this is a rematch from Taryn's first match in Force Wrestling at Just the Tip. Sager came out with the victory, but it was a very close match between both competitors here.
I get to fact check Mike again.
Go ahead,
doesn't look too happy.
So, as far as it goes for me, if my memory serves me correctly, January 17th, there was the return. Now, it was the 18th or the following weekend that Real Canadian Wrestling made their way back out to Radway, Alberta. Quinn Hawksley is the guest referee for the rematch of Taryn versus Accounting versus Zoe Sager. Taryn pulling out the victory, making this one, Mike, the all-important rubber match.
All right, well, nobody saw the match in Radway except who was there.
Well, fact-checking time now, because they also wrestled once for the PWA inside of Calgary. So
inside of you, Calgary.
That's where that happened. And if memory serves correctly, that one went to Taryn from Accounting. So.
All right, folks.
come on, Paul, have a fourth one for us, man.
I can't think of a fourth.
I think we got the three. We're those guys. We all had one.
I think
we all had one.
I think we can agree on something right now, that all these matches were actually really good matches. They were great matches between the two. And Spencer, since you wanted to start the fact checking, I'm going to let you start with the commenting.
100%.
Your thoughts going into this matchup here. I think this very well could be a match of the tournament as well.
Dude, 100%, 100% this could be a match of the tournament. And, the reason I brought up the Radway match, and Anthony, I'm happy to be fact-checked on that sort of stuff because, MRB brought it up. It's something that I'll reiterate. These are two individuals that not only are two of the most talented professional wrestlers in Alberta, but two of the most hardworking. Like, any time that we would talk to a professional wrestler on the show, we would head out to a training facility, whatever it may be, you would always see or hear about Zoe Sager and Taryn from accounting and Gigi Ray and Colton Kelly and all of these sorts of individuals that were always there too, right? But it's so great to watch these two lock up every single time it happens. Their match of the return was absolutely fantastic. Taryn from accounting's forced pro wrestling debut, and in my opinion, couldn't have gone any better as far as that sort of stuff goes.
Well, it could have if she won.
Well, back off, Mike. don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. And then the next night, to be quite honest with you, man, you talk about this being a highlight of the card. Going out and watching that in Radway with a couple of friends was an absolute treat for me because if you watch their match at the return, their match in Radway was in my humble opinion, just far better. And I think that you see that with a lot of pro wrestlers, right? When you get the opportunity to lock up, you get a little bit more familiar with people. You do tend to have better and better matches, better and better chemistry. And I certainly think that was the case in Radway. Anthony, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, but I'm certain that was the case again in Calgary. And coming up this time, I am 100% sure that this is going to be a hell of a match. Anthony, this changes my prediction a little bit because I had Taryn from accounting taking the rubber match. I think that if there was a wrestler that I saw take massive strides in what they did over the last few months of professional wrestling being around, obviously, it was TFA, man. Not only do people love her, she is a hell of an individual inside the squared circle, and I think that that isn't anything against Zoe Sager. I know I'm qualifying pretty well every pick like this, but much in the way that I talk about MRB as far as the standard for males in Alberta, Zoe Sager, if she's not that standard already, because I know that there's a lot of great women out there, including like Angelica and a Kat Von Hees and those sorts of names. But if Zoe Sager's not mentioned among them as the standard, then she is the standard. And I think that, you can't really pick against them. Hearing the TFA took it in Calgary really changes it for me. I'm going to take Zoe Sager for the win here.
Go ahead, Anthony. I know you want to rebut right now.
No. It was 100%. I got to go with Spencer on that. Watching them live in Calgary after they had already had a couple of matches under their belt, it was such a beautiful match. I was there with Paul, and the crowd was red hot for both Zoe and Taryn. It just goes to show you how quickly Taryn is exploding within Alberta. And to quote one of my favorite interviewers, Spencer over here, with his interview with Michael Richard Blaze, when Michael Richard Blaze was saying in terms of who he thinks the best people in Alberta coming up are, he talks not only about the skill that everybody has, but the passion that they have. And he specifically said how Zoe and Taryn, even when there's no wrestling, even when people are locked down in quarantine, Gigi Ray is another one, where they are messaging him every day, looking for advice, looking for information, looking for ways they can improve, looking for exercises. And that goes a long way. They're not just sitting there. They're not just going, I'm prepping for my next match. They're actively looking for people like MRB and saying, help me get better, even when there's not wrestling. So to know that, and to know that they've already had 3 amazing matches this year, and to know that their echelon is just continuing to get higher and higher, and their skill level is just increasing, damn, man, this is probably going to be a match of the tournament. That's just how it is.
Prediction?
Paul, sorry, Anthony.
Oh, man, so I'll say it this way. Zoe Sager had one of the best 2019. She went undefeated for most of the year. Unfortunately, I'm going to say it this way. Her 2020 hasn't been going her way quite as much. She's been making a couple more mistakes. She's been getting pinned a couple more times. And Taryn from accounting, she's red hot right now going into this pandemic. I got to give it to TFA.
All right,
Paul.
You'll love to hear it.
the other guys have been saying a lot here. Paul, your thoughts going into this matchup here?
I just think this is an absolute treat to be able to have a co-main event like this and really show how great the women's wrestling scene is in Alberta.
Yeah, man.
We've heard Spencer touch on Angelica and Quinn Hawksley, and Anthony mentioned Gigi Ray, and the list goes on to the point where you could almost have a women's tournament altogether.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started as far as that one goes. You'll have me on the line as far as that goes forever.
It would be incredible.
Well, yeah, man, and Paul, sorry to cut you off, but like you mentioned, and then you can keep going with it, man. Like you talk about a Quinn Hawksley who's so fresh to the scene, and Kayla J, Kat Von Hees, who I mentioned again. Like I really don't think, I mentioned her and Angelica specifically right off the bat because, man, like if we're talking about a Zoe Sager and we're talking about a Kayla J and these people who are coming up, man, like it's nothing against them, but like they're not anything if it's not for feuds with Angelica coming in for Kayla J and Zoe Sager breaking in with the Kat Von Hees. Like, you talk about Kat Von Hees, man, she has toured the Condello Tour more than any female who has ever toured that tour. And, I know we're getting a little bit off point as far as it goes, but I think that just really sells, how good this women's scene is and really how good this match is going to be because of how great the scene is overall.
It's an incredible scene, and these two are two of the faces of it.
Yeah.
And I'd put Zoe right at the forefront. That's not a slight to anyone else in Alberta. Yeah. Just Zoe's probably the most featured, and she is right up there. And Taryn from accounting, she has the best name in all of wrestling.
Yeah, she really does. She really does.
You are not wrong there whatsoever.
And I'm pretty sure for that reason alone, she's Mitch's pick because that's as valid of a reason as any in this match.
Well, and we were talking about the return, Mike. I get to put you over now as like literally Progress Wrestling picked up Force Pro Wrestling's The Return for their video on demand channel because, like you mentioned, Paul, literally the best name in professional wrestling.
Well, that was one of the selling points, of course. My thoughts.
I'm going by their words, not mine, man.
Fair enough. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, but I'm just not going to try and go too far on it here. But the women's wrestling scene here in Alberta is probably the most unmentioned, disrespected level of any competition here in Canada, period. The talent that we have here in Alberta for women's wrestling I think is on par with any part of this country right now. Between your veterans like Angelica and Kat Von Hees, even a Sexy Samantha and Monster Pro, and your newcomers, you could even call Kayla J a newcomer. You got Taryn from accounting, a Quinn Hawksley. But in my opinion, and this is another cheap plug I'll be throwing in, last Friday you got a chance to see the last Calgary show for PWA. Revelation on their YouTube channel. Go and watch it if you haven't, because it's definitely worth it. But to me, the move of the night throughout there was Zoe Sager hitting a tilt-a-whirl DDT on Michael Allen Richard Clark that looks so seamless, flawless, absolutely through perfection that, my God, it was absolutely spectacular. In my opinion, and I'm throwing a softball out there for you guys to knock out of the park if you really wanted it. Zoe Sager to me is about as close to WWE as MRB is right now.
Who wants to take it first? Because I know I'll talk the longest.
But
I'll say it this way. Zoe Sager has everything going for her. Like, she's got the look, she's got the talent, she's got the speaking abilities, and she's definitely got the heart and desire and drive. Like, in terms of what you need in order to make it in the wrestling world, she's got everything that you need. And honestly, she's been doing this for like about 3 years now. You know what I mean? I think it's going to go really well for her. I don't know if we'll see it happen maybe in the next year or so, but like when I look at Zoe Sager, I'm thinking it this way. It's almost like undeniable in my head that we're going to see her signed to somewhere major soon. Well, if not soon, but it'll happen.
Absolutely agree.
Yep. No, and I think you could make that comment about pretty well anyone as far as Alberta goes, to be quite honest with you. I think that Zoe's obviously a prime example of that. And Anthony, like you mentioned, man, I think that we're incredibly lucky with the women that not only we've had come through this scene. Like, you look at names that have come through here, whether it's just Storm grads, whether it's individuals that have come up through the PWA. Like, you talk of Giselle Shaw, you talk of Rachel Ellering, you talk like Tennille Dashwood's here, Casey Spinelli's on the first show that I ever go and see as far as Albertan Pro Wrestling goes. Peyton Royce, Tennille Dashwood, I think I may have mentioned her already, but c'est la vie. Like, the women's scene here was incredible. It is incredible, and forever will be incredible to steal from the WWE as it goes, you know. For lack of a better way to put it, you see when Monday Night Raw comes to Winnipeg, how many Albertans are out there, you know, and I think a lot of individuals, and myself included, I don't claim to be a guy who's like an insider or knows the importance of shit. I'm just a professional wrestling fan who's lucky enough to talk to individuals about professional wrestling every so often. But I would have to assume, and I think it's more than an assumption, I think it's an educated guess, that if people are getting the call to come from Edmonton to come to Winnipeg to participate in a conga line or be on a television product like an Angelica does and a Gigi Ray and a Taryn from accounting and a Zoe and all of the other individuals, you know, like a Travis Cole and a Danny Duggan, and I'm getting off point here, but any of those individuals, I think, have the opportunity to go to a major promotion, whether it's a WWE, whether it's heading to Japan or Mexico, as Angelica's already done, whether it's wrestling the most prestigious tour in Canadian wrestling right now, like the Candelo Tour. I think that the sky's the limit as far as the scene goes here. I'm going to say the same thing about BC in just a larger sense, and I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to move on from there because I know that we've got exciting announcements coming up on the WCSN as far as that goes, and I ain't getting everything out too early. So, Mike, back to you, my friend.
I was going to spoil it, but I'll play nice with Spencer over there. That way. I'll play nice.
You better.
So, when it comes to both these women, I'm sorry, I cannot pick a winner in this one. The winner's going to be the fans in this one, without a doubt. Taryn from accounting, Zoe Sager.
Hi, Spencer.
It's a crapshoot between both of them here. So, yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I can't pick a winner, and I just won't. So, but guys, your overall thoughts on what you could expect coming up on Saturday? Anthony, you're calling the show. What can fans expect when they check out the video on Saturday?
I can only expect that people are going to have like just the top-notch best wrestling. You know what? I've been so happy that I got to go into this. I haven't seen the semifinals. I haven't seen the women's match. I haven't seen the finals yet. I do that editing placement tonight after this call, and we are doing the commentary tomorrow. So I will tell you what it seems like from a personal fan perspective. Holy shit, am I excited for this, man. I have been missing Alberta wrestling so much, and you could hear how excited I was last week on commentary. It was my first ever time on commentary, and there were definitely times where I was just so into it, counting along with like the ref, and you know, I was a fan because what I was watching was stuff that I love to see. And if that was what we got in the quarterfinals, you see that in the semifinals, you ramp that by 2 at minimum, and that's what you're gonna see Saturday. It's gonna be pure gold.
Yeah.
Paul, your thoughts going into Saturday?
This whole tournament to me was like someone asked me to write down 10 wrestlers that I want to see perform the show to end all shows, and this has just become a reality with this entire tournament. These are 10 of the best wrestlers. If you haven't watched the show from last week, go watch it before the show this Saturday. It's still available on YouTube, on demand. Go do it. You're not going to be disappointed in that. You're not going to be disappointed in these matches either.
And Spencer, your thoughts going into this show coming up on Saturday?
Oh, boy, I get to main event this segment. I love it.
Yep.
Well,
you're the champ, bro.
Thank you very much. Champ is here. I'm just going to get real here for a second, to be quite honest with you. I think that for the better part of 3 years, I have sung the praises of Albertan professional wrestling, and it is far too rare, in my humble opinion, that people get the opportunity to see that, to hold my feet to the fire, to get me to put my money where my mouth is. And, you know, maybe that is a comment on the fact that up until Force Pro Wrestling, there is no Albertan promotion that does a good job of getting their live product out there. But this is an opportunity for them to do so. I think that this is the first opportunity now we see Wrestlesode and, individuals outside of the traditional professional wrestling. And I'm getting to you as well, Paul, the Wrestling Rodeo. I'm naming everybody. I just think that it's far too rare an opportunity that people do get the opportunity to see Alberta's best of their best in at least a close enough to live setting, The first chance that I've seen, and I know that they do a great job of the production end of it, but it's so rare in any Albertan's case that you get to see their stars in any semblance of relevant time close to when a show happened. It is so rare that you're up to date on a storyline or anything along those lines with the Albertan professional wrestling scene, unless, to be quite honest with you, you pay attention to us. This is your first opportunity in a long time to get to watch the best of the Albertan wrestling scene, to get to watch them in a timely manner for the first time in ages, and get to see it when there is a dire need for Albertan professional wrestling. Guys, if you are not stopping what you are doing on Saturday at 4:00 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, I know that because I screwed an interview up basing it off of Mountain Standard Time. Mountain Daylight Time, MDT, tune in to the Wrestling Rodeo's YouTube page. I guarantee you won't regret it, and at the very least, you get to watch the best in Albertan pro wrestling right here on the WCSN.
Actually on Wrestling Rodeo, but
they're apart.
Fair enough.
I count them.
Yeah, we're all the same team, guys.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Brothers.
Swinging the bat the same way, Mike.
La, la, la.
With
La,
all due respect to PPW, Saskatchewan, and Lethbridge, who are getting out content every week as well, you're not going to see a level of content here that... let me correct everyone here, just so we're clear. I believe it's 5 o'clock Saskatchewan time, if my memory serves me right.
They don't do daylights, so I don't think so. That's weird. They're weird in Saskatchewan. They're the smart ones. They don't do daylight.
You guys are smart. You guys can figure out what time. There are guys in the chat room. So, regardless, folks, we are here because we want to make sure that you check out... Oh, God. I gotta ignore this chat room here. We gotta get this wrapped up because this video is probably gonna be longer than the actual video of the.
Hey, now
show.
let's hold it off. Let's answer the fan questions. Mike D, my good man, Doyle. I'm gonna answer you as well here. I'm gonna be quite honest, not 100% sure on that Saskatchewan time. I know it is 4:00 p.m. Mountain time.
5
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you very much, Mike, for your thanks. Doyle, thanks for your 5 p.m. and thank you for tuning in. Mike, back to you.
All right, let's get our plugs in and let's get the show on the road here. Paul from Wrestling Rodeo, we know you got the big video on Saturday. What else is coming up on the Wrestling Rodeo?
So we have a weekly podcast where we're going back in time watching Stampede Wrestling from the 1980s, and we talk about it. So you'll hear us talk about guys like Keiichi Yamada, better known as Jushin Thunder Liger, Owen Hart, Mockin Singh, everyone that's passed through Stampede between the years of 1987 to 1989. That podcast is everywhere that podcasts can be listened to. You can follow us on Twitter at YYC Wrestling Hub. For now, we will be changing it after all of the Northern Alberta Invitational is published and available for everyone to watch.
Now, folks, don't forget, sign up to the YYC Wrestling Hub on Twitter now, because when the Twitter handle changes, you won't have to worry about finding it. It'll already be changed for you. And also, if I do remember correct, Paul, Biff Wellington's the wrestler that you're featuring right now?
Yeah, so he was the feature for January. Our February one was Mockin Singh, and our upcoming podcast episode, which is May and June 1987, will be the team of Bad Company. So
Ooh.
Bruce Hart and Brian Pillman.
That
Excellent
is a
choice.
hell of a team.
I have a question. Are we getting more of your ASMR introductions? Because I really liked those.
No,
I'll
Paul,
record one
he
special for you.
really liked those.
Oh, it was great. I was getting all the tingles.
Maybe
right
I should
here.
have the OnlyFans.
Oh.
Anthony, plug your stuff. I know you got some stuff coming up this week as well.
Yeah, hey everybody, I'm Anthony from the Wrestlesode podcast. I do show reviews and interviews. There aren't a whole lot of shows going on right now, so that side of things is kind of cut down, but I'm bringing back some more of the interviews and everything. I've got more coming up this week. I see Dylan Featherstone has joined the chat, or Dylan Stone. I'm going to be speaking with him, and we'll have a podcast out here shortly. I just have been horrible when it comes to actually nailing that time down. That's me, but we have a lot of great stuff here. Follow me on Twitter at Wrestlesode, or at facebook.com/Wrestlesode, or you can check out my website at Wrestlesode.com, or over at the Win Column Sports Network at wincolumnsports.ca to be kept up to date on everything happening here in Alberta in the world of wrestling.
Absolutely. Spencer, before I send it over to you, quick note. Mike Doucette in the chat room, he's bringing up a pop-up video with Alberta Wrestling, as well as reviewing some board games.
Ooh,
just wait.
I like that.
Just wait. Spencer, I haven't talked to you about that stuff. We'll get to that. But Spencer,
Is the podcast, Mike, please let us know, is the podcast called Getting Into Trouble? Let us know in the comments below.
wow.
If we're doing chess, I'll be on it. Can we review chess?
Spencer, plug your stuff. Plug the network.
How can you review chess? Isn't it the same?
I have a lot to talk about when it comes to chess.
I that wasn't a snub. That wasn't a shot.
I got somebody to talk to.
That was just what it was.
Spencer, plug your stuff. We want to go home.
Hey, I'm paying your overtime. Do you like timely content relevant to the Albertan and Canadian professional wrestling scene? Then you need the WCSN. Yes, the Win Column Sports Network is your source for previews, reviews, breaking news, and interviews from the Canadian professional wrestling scene, whether the major leagues, whether right here at home in the prairies. You can find it all at wincolumnsports.ca. Don't forget to subscribe. If you're feeling saucy, leave us a review. It helps us continue to bring you the best of the Albertan scene. I know that you guys are going to be excited about my guests coming up in the next few weeks, over the next little bit, and one I can't announce, but my second WWE interview coming up 2 weeks from now, and in the meantime and in between time, I will be bringing you interviews with Quinn Hawksley, the Voros twins, Major League Wrestling's Richard Holiday, and a whole lot more right here on Conversations with Love on the WCSN.
Don't you have a special one coming up on Friday as well?
Mike, I am so happy you asked. In between my very special Friday interview, this Thursday, I will be speaking to Monster Pro Wrestling's heavyweight champion of the world, Mitch Clark. Very excited for this one. If you guys want to get your questions in early, use the hashtag #ChewBigRed. We are aiming for a sponsorship. Even if they send us some free gum, guys, that is going to be a huge win for us. So help us pad not just our pockets, but our lips with some delicious Big Red flavor. Then this Friday, old Mance Warner, the king of Big Dog Style, the mouth of the Mid-South. Very excited to have him on the show. Cannot wait. You guys are going to love that one. There's a reason people compare him to guys like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Dusty Rhodes. Very excited for that one. I know you guys should be too. So tune in every Wednesday and Friday. Mike, thank you for filling me in on the WCSN. Mike, thank you. I also chew Big Red.
I also want Big Red now. That's like the best gum for cinnamon flavored gum like ever.
Thanks. I'm going to send that to him for a sponsorship.
My favorite.
I was normally a juicy fruit guy, but I guess I might have to change here. I don't know.
Hey,
you know, Mike, you look like we're all juicy fruit guys here. It seems like.
And just so everybody knows, coming up on the Backbreaker Media Network tomorrow, we have the simulcast of the CWL Live with Danger Zone Mitch Clark. Coming up this Saturday.
Danger Zone.
This Saturday on our Twitch channel. Twitch.tv/Backbreaker Media, 7:15 p.m. There will be a showing of the latest version of MPW Virtual Madness, where the stars of Monster Pro Wrestling have created their own characters, and they're going at it toe-to-toe, and the trash talking's just as fun. And basically, I spend the whole time making fun of Blake Cannon. So it's always a great time. Make sure you check it out. Twitch.tv.
But he's a champion, man. He's a champion.
No, he lost the title.
You mean Busty?
I haven't watched those.
Hashtag transition.
Spoiler alert, Mike. Come on. Now, Mike, I'll turn it back over to you.
Last week.
Hey, it's still a spoiler, okay? Let's lay it all out here for the fans before I let you close it out. We got lots of stuff coming up. I feel like lots of it got lost in translation. So, this Thursday, 8:15 Mountain Time. Mitch Clark appearing on Facebook Live with the WCSN. Very excited for that one. This Friday, my interview with Mance Warner, old Manser, the king of big dog style, joining me on Conversations with Love. This Saturday, Mike, you got your show going on. Very excited for that one. The CWC is always a hell of a time, and I always suggest that you guys tune into that one. Mike,
just a correction. Because of the Twitch TV, I want to make sure everybody gets a chance to watch it. The CWC has been postponed up to next Tuesday is when the next show will be out. However, we have a show on Sunday as well, Spencer.
That's what I was getting to next. Ladies and gentlemen, this Sunday, it is Mother's Day, so make sure before you do anything as far as professional wrestling goes, you call your mom, you say hello, you tell her you love her, because that, my friends, is the most important thing that you can do this Sunday. However, if you finish that up early, if you guys are a brunch family rather than a dinner family, we are doing Over the Top Rope live, pre-recorded, however, still as entertaining as ever. Myself, Chris Parrish, and Mike the Ref. Always a good time to tune into, and always something that I would suggest you do. Unfortunately, not live from Beercade YEG, the home of Edmonton professional wrestling, but that'll be coming up sooner rather than later. And when we do, let's all make sure we get out there. I know that you guys are as passionate as all of us here at the network are about supporting local, whether it's your local sports, hockey teams, whatever it may be, or your local business. So 105th Street and 82nd Avenue for each and every WWE pay-per-view, but this time only Over the Top Rope live on Sunday at 3 p.m.
Man, I
have a question.
Go ahead, Anthony.
Yes. Spencer, is it true that the Win Column Sports Network is on Patreon now?
Well, Anthony, I am so glad you asked. Yes, if you would like to help support the WCSN with financial donations, we do have a variety of options for you available at patreon.com. If you go to patreon.com/the WCSN, there's a lot of great stuff there, and I know that you guys aren't just there for early content, because trust me, I know that if you guys want early content, you guys can, for the most part, just shoot me a message on Facebook, but a lot of great stuff outside of that. Spencer's Rumors from the Alberta indie wrestling scene, if you want to tune into those, just give me $20 a month and I'll fill you in with the dirty details from behind the scenes.
He will fill you.
He sounds like the you sound like Mean Gene with the hotline right there.
I would love to host my own wrestling call-in show.
You know
Jim Rogers be a.
Let's continue this. Let's just continue this discussion after the show.
I was going to say we're going to talk for another hour after this, anyways.
Probably. I want to thank Paul from the YYC Wrestling Hub for being so quiet while listening to all these plugs. Thank you for joining us here.
Appreciate you having me.
And thanks, Anthony, from the Wrestlesode podcast.
Always a pleasure. Thank you guys for having me as well.
Hey, Anthony, I noticed you have a very nice hat on.
Hey, Spencer, I don't know if you know this, but I happen to have this amazing hat from the Win Column Sports Network, which you can get over at wincolumnsports.ca. What an amazing deal.
Wow.
Wow.
Contact
like you said, $20 a month.
There you go. And on behalf of Spencer, you've plugged enough, so you're done for tonight. On behalf of Spencer Love at Win Column Sports, I'm Mike the Ref of Backbreaker Media, saying thank you for joining us for this Northern Alberta Invitational preview show. Make sure you check it out this Saturday, 4 p.m. Mountain, 6 p.m. Eastern, on the Wrestling Rodeo YouTube channel. And thank you for checking us out, and we will see you all on Saturday at the Northern Alberta Invitational.
Alberta is blessed with a wide variety of high-quality sports. Rich with talented athletes and successful franchises in all levels in any sport. We aim to tell those stories. The Win Column Sports Network was created with one goal in mind, providing professional-level coverage of semi-professional franchises, athletes, and organizations in Edmonton. We believe Edmonton can stand proudly behind our moniker of the City of Champions. This city has been home to multiple AJHL championships, a two-time WCBL semifinalist, numerous WWE-signed independent wrestlers, and many more success stories.
This is Shane, Hurricane Helms.
Hey guys, this is TJ Wilson, a.k.a. Tyson Kidd.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is almighty Christopher Daniels.
Stories you can only find on the Win Column Sports Network.